but I didn't know the setback was up there.
Good, okay, everybody ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Jim.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Mike's here. Dan.
Here.
Spencer.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Nathan.
Here.
John.
Here.
Gretchen.
Here.
Addie.
Here.
And Sammy. All right, adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Spencer moves it. Eric seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Warrior is a donation from Waterloo Ridge Lutheran Church in Decorah, Iowa for school supplies. Lee moves it.
Second.
Dan seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you to Waterloo Lutheran Church. Board showcase, nothing there. Student school board member reports.
The members of homecoming court were announced last Monday. Dress-up days for homecoming started this morning. The homecoming dance will take place on Saturday the 28th. The parade will take place on Friday the 27th. The juniors went to a career fair, or the seniors went to a career fair last Tuesday, and our school hosted one on Thursday. Senior assassin started this morning. Mrs. Larson, Mrs. Spencer, and Mrs. Meyer are all working hard on planning the trip to Europe, which will take place in July this summer.
Thank you, Sammy. Yeah, you got anything here?
No, she got it.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, no public comment today. Down to the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda?
No, I have one thing, if I could, if nobody else is.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is nothing personal to anybody, but the community ed director contract.
Yeah.
I guess the concern I have is I know Gretchen works hard at the early childhood development, and I know she's had struggles with the community ed portion of that. And I don't know what percent of her job is what. I guess my biggest concern is to approve a 2-year contract, and again, nothing personal against Gretchen. But the community ed program, when we're running into some financial concerns, is a community ed program by itself, not the early childhood development, but just the community ed, the classes for the adults and all that. My gut feeling, and I'm on the committee for the last year and a half, unless something is tweaked on that, it just seems like it's fake. Some of the programs that go seem to be connected more with the driver's ed, things like that, which are connected to the school age kids. And in many school districts, they're part of the curriculum. But here it's community ed. But when you look at the ballet and the cooking and the CPR and the financial, some of those struggle to get going. And I don't know if we took a break in offering some of that and had a subcommittee to kind of review it, and with involved and Gretchen involved, and maybe a couple here, and maybe get community involved, and say, what can we do to stimulate this program? Because otherwise, it seems like there's a lot to me, and everything from how you present the program to promote it, to what can we do to strengthen the program? What do other towns do? And just have a group of 7 people brainstorm it and see what we can do. So we could either approve the 2-year contract and move ahead and hope that we do something, or say, what if we do a 1-year contract, full boat, and then the 2nd year contract would obviously be approved if we can figure out how to make that community ed portion go. Otherwise, do we just have Gretchen focus on, put 100% of her attention on early childhood development and be made in the pay scale, but that's me brainstorming in my own mind. I don't know if anybody else feels the same, but I think the program struggles a little bit, and I'd like to see what we can do to make it work out. Anybody have any input or anything?
We had a pretty extensive discussions about this all along the way through the contract part of it.
Okay,
And I think all of these points were brought out as well.
okay,
There are certain features where we need the certification for that position with respect to other course offerings and things that are done for our schools. So we need that position. But we want to take into account all of those points that you brought up. And were all discussed in that committee.
Schools in general are having a hard time getting the programming. I don't know of any districts around us that have, there's a lot of offerings at each of the schools with
Right.
stuff to get people to teach the classes and then sign up and get people to take them. Everybody's just busier than heck doing things. So
And one of the things we were talking about is like, Gretchen can go to the work setting up class where nobody shows up. And it's like, is this community, it's hard to get it going in this community. Maybe this is the same as everybody else. Maybe it's harder than some other towns. I don't know. But I mean, we have to have the community ed director is an important position. But does Gretchen, now that she's running, because she's running CAPS now too, right? And
well, she was before too.
well, right, but now she's
Yeah.
took on extra responsibility and Gina left. So is it worthwhile having you spend the time on community ed when it's not not viable?
or do we reconfigure what it is?
Or
We
tell me to
brainstormed
make it,
some things in the committee with Melissa's there, Gretchen's there, we had a couple community members there. And we talked about trying to, how do you promote it better, other ways, how do you get more instructors? But then Gretchen brought up some of the things that she struggles with are getting, we're a little bit far away from La Crosse, whereas you look at the Crescent, they're right across the river. So they can attract more people, they can attract more instructors, and I think there's a struggle here, and no fault to anybody. But the community is affected by it, and it costs us money. Do we keep putting money toward that, or do we just focus on early childhood development, make that the best it can be, and on the side, work on what can we do with community ed, have some community meetings.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that specific district size requires to have community ed offered, and we fall within that criteria, so I think we're required. But, yeah, whether it's successful or not is just.
Are you required to have, we're required to have,
When you have over 6 residents within your district, which we do just barely, you are required to have a licensed community.
right, that's the key though. We're required to have a license, but the vast majority of her time is spent on, which is normal for community ed directors, as I understand, is on CAPS and ZAC and things of that nature. Are we required to offer classes though? It's not
I don't know that we're required to offer classes, but I think it's a good thing to offer them. And, we do have people that sign up for some of them. And, I guess I don't know about the adult education classes. I would assume, it's a good thing for us to offer them. If people take us up on that and do them, great. If not, I don't know, maybe I don't know what we can do to advertise them more, but we do have the lion's share of, and it's weird that community ed, it's maybe a misnomer, because when everyone thinks of community ed, they think of adult education classes, but there's a lot more to it. We talk about Fund 4, it encompasses the school age care, the childcare, the preschool. There's a lot within that.
Yeah, I think I think it could be a specific, all that's really important stuff.
Right.
And so if classes aren't being attended, why is she wasting energy and time on that when daycare is very, very important? And if we can somehow take a pause and reconfigure the community ed class portion, isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not saying scrap it forever. I'm just saying maybe it's time to kind of pull in on the outreach, focus on what we're doing well and do it better, even with the little kids, and just harden that target, and then figure out what we can do by involvement with the community to help us help them, to provide things they want. Because you've got CPR classes, which are great, and I know sometimes you get a good showing and sometimes it's 2 people. And maybe everybody in town that wants to be certified in CPR has done that already. I don't know, but then there's 55 Alive, which is a driving program for seniors. I don't know if that's kind of hit or miss. It's 13 1 year.
People expect every year.
They expect
So,
it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There are a few classes we have that are kind of expectations, and people look out for those for sure.
Well, I guess I can ask, what kind of time do you think if you were to break it down to percentages, what % of your time is in community ed classes? 10%, 20%, I don't know.
20 to 25%.
And then when you look at the effort put out and the return on that effort, it just seems like if more time was spent just on the little ones and figure out, I don't know, it seems like some of them are contractual, where it's just a matter of connecting and filling a slot. It's whether it be a financial advisor coming in and teaching a class on retirement or estate planning, and those are all good things. It just seems like a lot of wheel spinning.
In a quick Google search, education courses are not required by the Minnesota Department of Education. They can be offered through Minnesota's Adult Basic Education Program.
Could I interject something here? One that I really would love to see for the local people in Caledonia. I've got to go to a Crescent's October 23rd. Of course, maybe they're having a hard time getting people to do it. I mean, we were supposed to have one in April up at La Crescent. They had to cancel. But the guy I love to listen to is finally retired, Dewey Stevenson. He was really fun. And of course, the best thing was he used to work out in the cities on Thursday night. He said the best business I ever got was from the Minnesota Vikings players list issued DUIs, So, but how hard, Gretchen, is that to get them? Because they even had to cancel theirs and move it back too.
I mean, we have, if you're talking about the defensive driving that Dewey used to teach, so we have that scheduled for October 21st. We have that every fall.
Great. So
Yeah.
you got it 2
Yeah.
days before. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
tell my brother.
every fall and every spring we have for that one.
Okay. See, I was gonna take it in April, but then they rescheduled me back to the 23rd. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. It's the best one. I think we all need it as we get older anyway.
And now you don't have to take the 8 hours, just 4 hours.
Right, yeah, boy, that was better yet. And then the thing of it is too, Tom asked me Danielson right away in my insurance, so I could get that cut too. So that's good to hear. We've got it here in
Yeah.
Caledonia too, so. Okay, super.
I just throw it out for discussion. I think we need to revisit it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a thriving community ed program that everybody's interested in coming and showing up and teaching classes, but I don't know how to make it happen. And do you know, Lee?
Nope.
All right. Well, okay, good discussion. And we, I don't know where we go from there. We have a community ed committee. And, maybe that committee can come up with specific ideas that broaden the outreach. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know.
What did the community members say?
Well, it's Melissa, myself, and Gretchen, and who's the other one?
Sarah Tessler.
Sarah, that's Bob.
We're
Who
the
shows
kind of
up?
core ones, and then others can come in there.
I'm sorry, I thought you said there were some folks from the community.
Well, at the last meeting I went to, there was one gentleman there, I've never seen him before, but he apparently was a board member at one time. And I'm not familiar with too many people in town, so.
Randy Gustafson, he's from, yeah.
And he had some ideas, I can't remember what his background was, but he had,
He used to be media director.
okay. So there's ideas, but I know volunteers, I know my wife's involved with the community spirit group, and there's no volunteers anymore. You know, so you don't get community involvement unless you're given an iPhone or an iPad or something. It's amazing. But, it's,
Well, if anybody has any interesting ideas on how we can improve that program, pass it on to the committee, I guess. Okay, any other discussion on the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Okay, Dan moves it,
I'll second.
Melissa seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. No action items today. Administrative reports, Mr. Bowler.
Well, I don't know if you guys all heard the news, but the big news of the day is that Caledonia was selected as Blue Ribbon School. I think the board already knew about that, but most of the community probably did not. So one of the things that's really exciting about that, we're one of 7 schools within the state of Minnesota. I went back a few years. I can't find another public high school that has received it. I think I went back 5 years, so that's also very exciting. But just a testament to our staff and our students and our communities. It's something that's obviously big for everyone, so I'm super excited. We're going to do a little kickoff tomorrow with the students to start the day, and then we're going to talk about it again on Thursday at Coronation Pep Fest and kind of mix all that into our homecoming festivities week. So, like I said, it's really exciting. We've known about it for a long time, that we've had to kind of keep it bottled up, and so I'm excited to share it with everybody. So that's kind of my biggest news. Few other things. Obviously, we talked about a little bit about homecoming week this week. Coronation Pep Fest on Thursday, the parade on Friday at 2 o'clock. We also have conferences that are coming up this week on Thursday. It's hard to believe that we are over half done with Q1, but we are. I know it goes fast. So we have that on Thursday, and then the following week we have professional development at the middle school, high school, while the elementary has their second night of conferences. But overall, I think we're off to a really good start with the school year. I think, students and staff kind of feel that as well, and there's been some changes. Cell phones, I think overall is going pretty well. It's not to say that there aren't some that are, sneaking them here and there, but I've even talked to kids and talked to staff, and kids are talking in the lunchroom, and so it's I think there's a lot of benefits to it for sure. So, like I said, overall, I think we're off to a really good start, and just excited for a great week of homecoming, and before we know it, it's going to be MEA break.
I think we should give this administration staff a big round of applause. Mr. Bowler, Mr. Erskine, and I'm sure John was all involved in that, whoever else. But that's been a long time to keep that secret. I wanted in that board interview to let them know that. I said, no, that's great in your bag of tea there. So, yeah, that's totally awesome. That should be a seller for, getting our enrollments increasing. I agree with you. School's great. I've been up there 5 or 6 times subbing, and boy, it looks like they're learning, they're getting along well. And I mean, it's just a perfect place to have your kids in school up there at that building, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're working on a few things, getting some signs to put up in our communities, float the parade, Friday, so that's what I'm doing after this. If anybody wants to go paint the sign, we're gonna start, tonight. But no, I'm very blessed with the staff that we have, and, I think the students have come a long ways. I appreciate the community, so.
So none of the teachers know yet either, or there's some teachers have to know, right, because they were on the.
Most of the teachers did know,
Okay.
because back in March, February, late February, we kind of gathered everybody together and said, we've been nominated for this, now we got to put together this 20-odd page report that we had to turn in, and it is available if you want to read the whole thing. It's actually really good. So going back to Mike's question, yes, the high school teachers did know. And then some people volunteered to help me write the overall report. And I will say, and if you ask the others on the committee, they felt the same way. It was some of the best professional development that we've had, because there were some times where I had to kind of sit there and go, man, what are we doing that's so great in this area? And we'd sit there and we'd start talking, well, what about this? And what about this? And don't forget, we're doing this. And it's by the time we're done, we're like, man, there's so many great things that we're doing that it's easy to get caught on some of those negative things, even for me. And so it really we had to flip our mindset and really focus on the positive things. So again, that narrative is out there. I think it's 21 pages long.
Where is it?
I can get it to you. It's on the website. That's part of our application process. And so it was really powerful. Like, let's find all the good things that we are doing that we can put on there. So yeah, very excited. And nationally, we'll get recognized November 7th. So we fly out the Wednesday after the election, and we'll be there in Washington D.C. for a couple days. And I will be okay, but it also overlaps with opening gun season.
It's great for legislatures out when you're out.
Yeah. So we're excited to go and receive that award, and we'll get a flag for the school. Like I said, we're working on some signs, working on something for the parade, and just try to celebrate this. So very exciting.
So we got clearance from the city to put a big banner on 44 in Kingston. Are we gonna be able to buy a big banner like that, or so they come like huge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Terry
Found this place that does it for about 1/10 the cost of the ones I was looking at.
Okay.
So we have the company it's the company that does all of our senior banners that we hang on the fence each year. And we can go as big or as little as we want, but even the one she was looking at was $30. Yeah, I mean, they're relative, they're nice, durable, come with gussets and sewn edges, so we're like, perfect. So,
All right, awesome.
So yeah, we're working on that. We're meeting as a committee again Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock, 7:15, just to kind of talk about some of the things we're gonna do. It's official.
Great.
So,
Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
How do you follow that, Mr. Wall?
Well, I have this ball. Okay, homecoming week, dress-up days this week is a lot of fun. A lot of good school spirit. Mr. Bowler, I participated in a dress-up day today.
Unbelievable. It's a first.
That would be the first one since stepping foot in Caledonia.
Yeah.
I had some orange on. It was every class picked a color. It was also Crazy Hair Day, which I pulled off, despite what you might think. Thank goodness for wigs. So yeah, having a lot of fun this week. We're excited for the parade. The kids really get into it. Teachers really get into it. It's just a really fun, lot of energy. So I don't know how teachers are able to still teach effectively. They do, but like Mrs. McDonald had this wacky thing on her head and somehow still had 20 kids locked in doing reading and spelling and stuff. But yeah, you'd think it'd be a bigger distraction, but kids can still lock it in, so it's a lot of fun. October 10th, early dismissal, conferences. Any questions about READ Act stuff? It was in the consent agenda. You're hearing a lot about it. Our core training. I could talk about it a lot, but I don't just want to talk to talk. Does anybody have questions about it?
How many teachers are directly affected by it?
So right now, there's different phases. Right now, we're in phase 1, which there's guidelines on what people are in phase 1. Long short of it, before July 2026, phase 1 people, which are mostly elementary staff, but then also like special education staff that teach literacy. Right now, we have like 31 in the training, 30 to 32 in the training right now. I am doing the training as well, so, you know, I was pretty much the lead I am pretty much the lead on the core training, but I know it firsthand because I'm doing it. So I was expecting people, maybe if you had questions about the MOU, I'm doing it as well, so I can tell you.
Is it all like computer-based modules?
Yep.
You click through, and if you don't get your 80% or better score, they kick you back to the beginning, you make it, or.
No,
There's
it's
one.
harder.
Oh, they one up.
No, I'm telling you, this is a
you better get
legit,
right
like a college course.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of reading. I would have brought the book down, but I didn't want to soar back. It's like, it's an intense class. Like, I would say it's equivalent to a 3-credit. I don't want to say intense. It's intense while working a full-time job. You know, if you were doing nothing but the course, it wouldn't be that difficult, but it's very sciencey. It's not just a click through, you know, take the quiz, fail it, retake it, try to remember what ones you got wrong. Like, you have to, you're reading through, you're highlighting, and, you know, like I keep telling people, if I can do it and pass it, we all can, because I have no background in teaching elementary literacy, which is good, you know, for the staff that I'm doing it as well. But yeah, it's definitely a demanding course. It will be good. I mean, people are learning a lot.
It's kind of reaffirming some of the things that our teachers already know, and, you know, especially our newer teachers that weren't trained in the American Reading Company or whatever, are getting some good training.
Statewide, I hope it has the influence that it could. If every staff in the whole state takes this training seriously and implements what they learn, it's good stuff. Like, I'm telling you, it's really good stuff. And like Craig said, we were definitely ahead of the curve. Like, we've been doing the science of reading. Sue Link, literacy was her thing. And she, like the Sunday system we have right now, she was definitely ahead of the curve. And not just her, but the teachers. But, you know, like, she pushed for us to use this program that we're using. And what I'm telling you is, if we weren't doing it right now, we would be going out and purchasing it within the year, because, so we're set up really good. I expect state averages to come up. I hope they do. But like I said, that'll only happen if everybody takes it as serious as I feel our staff is doing it. I hope that we see reading scores coming up. Not that that's the only factor, but it's one of the, you know, rarely can we talk about state mandates and say it's a really good thing, but I do think this one is, I mean, I do think it's a solid one. I mean, it's making every teacher go through this rigorous course, and it's definitely raising the bar for what we expect from our educators. But like Craig was saying, I'm lucky we were ahead of the curve, because this isn't a big shock for anybody.
So it's not changing curriculum much at the elementary level?
Not much, but there will be some. I mean, I would say what I see so far in the early stages at the elementary and our training and what we're learning is, I could see a little bit of room for growth with, you know, our kindergarten does really good, our first grade does really good, our second grade does really good. All of them do, but a little more alignment maybe, and a little bit better, maybe us being a little more consistent with, you know, we have some individual teachers who, they all teach it very well, and our scores show that. But maybe some more consistency with, you know, I mean, it's as simple as, how do you teach a certain blend of vowels? Do you teach kids to, you know, pronounce both? I mean, it's very, very detailed, but if we all do it the same way, I could see some benefit in that. But our room for growth is definitely a little less than some schools that aren't really proficient. Because we, like I said, we're ahead of the curve. We've been doing a really good job already. So, but yeah, any other questions about READ Act core training?
there's 8 at the middle school, high school, so all of our special education teachers are required to take it in phase 1.
Yep.
And then our English teachers at the middle school level are included in phase 1, and then we have one more who is elementary licensed that chose to be part of the cohort as well. Otherwise, most others will be included in phase 2 when that.
And phase 2 staff are required to be done July of 2027. So probably, I mean, we're learning a lot on how we implemented this year. You know, it was fast, like the mandate came out and you had to be doing it pretty quick. So I think phase 2, maybe we'll do it differently. We'll, you know, not very differently, but I think we learned a little bit as every district did. I mean, the READ Act 2.0 literally came out, 3 months ago? And it was the state saying, okay, we need to revise this because it wasn't really fair, and they added a whole year for phase 1. The funds for the MOU, originally that money was only for purchasing curriculum, and then they realized how much time teachers were gonna be putting in outside of contract time, and so they gave districts the option to pay staff a stipend for completing the course and things like that, which was I think a good choice. So yeah.
And to Mike's point, there are a couple of in-person live sessions.
3.
That all teachers do together. So they do a lot of like the module training on their own, and then it's okay, now we're gonna have this all in one cohort, 32 of us with the trainer, training. Then you do a little bit more on your own, then it's everybody together with the trainer. So there is some group work, it's not just all behind a screen, but the majority of it would be.
And the most of it, when you get to the point of, professionals learning, you can get a lot more out of like an online course, in my opinion, because essentially, like one of the modules might say, read textbook pages 40 to 100. And, you're gonna get out of that what you want as a professional. The interaction it's a solid, I think it's set up good. I think it's, like, I'm learning a lot, because I was at square one when it came to early childhood literacy, and it's good.
Did the state ever say what the run time is gonna be for the whole, like, just putting aside the in-person stuff, just the run time on the computer-based stuff?
Yeah, so we had 3 different options. So when you hear core, that's like the course we went with, but there's 3 different companies. You could have done Letter, which is Lexia is the company, Carry All, which was created by the University of Minnesota, and Core, which is an American Reading Company. We went with Core, and each course is different for how many hours and how they're set up. I mean, they're truly independent from each other, but the state had approved all 3 of those as being rigorous enough to count as the professional development. Letters was the most intensive hours-wise. They predicted 72 hours. Core, the one we went with, was predicted, I think, at 45, with obviously individuals being much different, some more, some maybe less, but so definitely a ballpark, 40, 45 to maybe it was 50 for core, I'm not sure, but
40 hours. I did not know that.
yeah, I mean, and I don't know if people have heard much about it, probably not, but some teachers, who have been teaching literacy for a long time and are very effective at it, are taking 4 to 5 hours on one module, and it certainly took me longer than that because they had a good foundation, but it takes time. There's no getting around it. If you gotta pass the test, and you gotta have 80% on the assessment for each module to get through it, and it's not like one of those online courses where you can just take it and hope that all the questions are the same. I'm telling you from experience, that's not. I tried.
Do they get college credit?
You can get a college credit. I haven't read up on that for a little bit here now, but there is possibility for getting a college credit that can count towards a lane change, but there's stipulations with that district to district, and I don't recall what that is.
It's in our MOU that if I think it's through some school in California.
Okay,
You can get 3 graduate credits for it.
okay.
You'll have to pay for the credits, of course.
So we're, the MOU that we just approved there is paying teachers, $815, correct? So that would, let's say theoretically it did take 45 on average, that's about $18 an hour. Just so everybody knows. I wasn't aware of the time, anything like that, or what that $815 translated to in a real.
And that's one of the reasons we didn't do an hourly rate in the MOU is because we talked about, well, some people are gonna take 30, some people are gonna take 60. So that's why we went with the stipend amount for it.
And it is upon completion, right?
Yep, you have to pass it to get the $815. So I'm gonna jump in, as long as you're talking about READ Act, there was one of the things that we talked about in our staff development committee meeting. I think I sent this out in my update that they were looking for, if we could have more job embedded work time. We're gonna talk administratively and see if that's something we think we need, and that's something I've been upfront with you guys from way back, is that we have the 3 early outs already in the calendar for that. What I'm understanding, we've done modules 1 through 3 will be completed. 4 through 6, my understanding is that 6 and 9 are pretty labor intensive. We're gonna do some figuring on that, and see if there's a way we can get job embedded work time without altering the calendar for staff or for students and parents. But just know that if we can't come up with a good plan, we might be coming back and asking for more time for that. I know some schools, I don't think they're giving stipends to their teachers, and they're using job embedded work time for the whole thing. One school I know of has 12 days that they're providing their staff. They're not getting a stipend, but, and I think the ones that are doing letters might be doing that more frequently, so that's double the hours about. Okay.
All right. Any other READ Act core stuff? I'm trying to think of any other big things. Just, we appreciate, honestly, the vibe of it here has been really good. Like, people have literally said, stipend or no stipend, whatever happened, this was like a month ago, whatever happened, we're gonna get it done and we're gonna do a good job with it. And just kudos to the staff for having the right mindset with it and not thinking, oh, this is, and I'm sure there's some of that, right? Like we would all have that, but overall, they're just taking it as, listen, this thing is done in January, let's get it done and we'll be better for it. So huge props to them, because that's a big take on, and being able to still give your best lesson every single day and all that prep work that goes into that and all these hours that they're putting into this core training. Huge shout out to them for getting it done. So, yeah. Okay. Any other core stuff? Perfect. Tim Gunn visited the school. He was part of a 9/11 lesson on, was it on 9/11?
No, day before.
It was the day before. So Mrs. Engen had kind of a 3-day lesson, a memorial for 9/11, and lots of our teachers, as is the middle school, high school, there's a lot of stuff going on in those classrooms, especially your social studies. Really a powerful message. It was cool that Tim was able to be a part of it, and I encourage any other board members, whenever you want to get in, you just let me know. It doesn't even need to be something special like that, but I think Tim would speak to, because even after that, we kind of just walked the hall and bumped into Mr. Haybison's class, and there's always really cool stuff, and I encourage, if you ever have an extra hour, just let me know, and I'll find, we can walk around and check out.
Really impressed by how she handled it. And
Yeah.
the movie, she incorporated the video and the kids, I mean, it was patriotic. It was really, it was good to see. You know, things you hear about other schools across the country is like, whoa, this is an eye opener, and it was good. And the kids, there wasn't one kid that was looking elsewhere. They were all focused.
Yeah.
It was good.
And she put a really cool twist on it, you know, it's very age appropriate lesson. You know, it's very different than I would have done it as a teaching, you know, seniors and sophomores in high school, you know. I was interested to see how it would go being a former social studies guy. I knew it would be good, but the biggest component of the lesson was, you know, what does it take to be a hero, which is such a positive twist on such a terrible day. But what a great way to teach fifth graders. You know, there was obviously a little bit of reminiscing on the tragedy, but she really did a pretty cool job. And the story of the man in the red bandana, I don't know, I had just heard of it, but it is a powerful, this gentleman who worked in the Twin Towers was a volunteer firefighter, and when the planes hit, he was in there working his office job and was just going up and down flights of stairs rescuing people.
Well, he was a trader and probably making good money and didn't have to sit there or go back in and help people, but he did, and finally, he never gave up.
Yeah, and each kid got a handkerchief, a red handkerchief that was donated by, I think, Emily and his mother bought it, and the kids wrote on there what it makes to be a hero, and they were all wearing them around, and it was just a really cool lesson, so. Okay, I'm talking a lot. I was gonna tell you about this cool thing Mr. Kepke is doing. It is really cool, maybe I'll save it for next month, honestly, because it would be another 15 minutes probably.
All right, that's fine.
Just wanted to highlight a couple cool things, but I'll save it for next month because it's not urgent. He's doing some really awesome brain breaks in class. It's super innovative and super cool. I just wanted to give him a shout out, but I'll bring these to the next board meeting.
October it is. All right, just one.
So our preschool teachers are also participating in the READ Act, and they are doing the letters training because it is specific to early childhood. So they are participating in that this year as well. We are hiring for SAG, kind of as usual. Fall's a tough time for us for just with fall sports and kids getting back in the swing of school. It's hard to find staff. So hopefully with the wage increase that was approved, we can kind of attract some more kids to work for us this fall, so we don't have to limit our numbers. We don't want to have to turn any families away. I'm working on filling some holes in the daycare. Now that we have a lot more kids and we're full, we need more staff for a longer time of the day. So just filling in a few holes for that right now. And a couple classes coming up this week. Robotics is actually having like an adult class for adults that starts tomorrow night, and then got a couple of the financial classes coming up this week, which we actually have pretty good enrollment out. I'd say like 8, I think, in each, which seems low, but for these classes, normally get like 1 or 2, so we're happy with 8. So that's all on my plate right now.
Great, and the last newsletter that came up, I don't know, all of you have seen this, but page 2 is all the community ed classes for October.
Yep.
Presumably you put this together.
Yeah, I put that one together.
Yeah, so. I mean,
Where's that at?
So this looks great. This is Craig's last newsletter. We have to get this to every person in the community. You know, because right now it's on Schoology. I bet you don't get it. Tim wouldn't get it. So why doesn't everybody get this? This is fantastic, man. I don't know.
Especially if you're focused on Gretchen's classes for seniors. If they don't have a kid in the class.
No, it should be on Schoology and Facebook.
But when it comes through Schoology, it's a little blurb, and I just noticed it pop up on my iPad. I'm like, oh, Craig's newsletter. Well, if I hadn't been there and saw the pop up, I would have never seen it, and it's amazing. So we got to figure out how to.
And they do have a link on there to sign up for the MailChimp. On page 2 of that, there's a MailChimp sign up.
Do another push
I
on.
don't know what a mail shoot
The thing with the
It's not a
monkey,
female
yeah.
chick.
Boy, that's what I was gonna say.
Anyway, this thing's awesome. I don't know, Nate and John, did you guys do page 3 and 4?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean,
I didn't see it on Facebook. I don't know if I missed it or not.
we gotta like somehow email this to every parent, because they're not seeing it on school. I got lucky.
I'm wondering, and just throwing this out there, if the two of you would sit down with Fillmore County or Argus and just invite them in to review that stuff, and then review the community ed programs, and see if they do a little article. You know, because right now there's still sign up available for our October and November classes.
Does that have a link on Facebook or does it actually go out looking like that?
No, it's a link on
I wonder-
Facebook, it says Canva.
I wonder if you actually just put the pages out on Facebook and social media, because then you can't just scroll right by it. You would actually see those graphics and see the pages. I know you can, because we've done it with, I think, booster club letters, but.
Gretchen will,
I think, I can't promise it, but I
You know
think.
what I mean? Like, I don't
It's,
know.
it's eye-catching though, so people will stop and
So
look
if you
at
don't just see the link, you'll see like actual.
Where else?
I would email it.
on the website, it's on Schoology, it's on Facebook.
Well, I guess the easiest thing to do would be to email it to every parent.
We could do that through school messengers this summer, right? But the problem is I know we have parents that don't get their addresses line right, so. But, you know,
But it's
I
more-
could still get like 80% of them, I'd say, if we have the school.
Does everybody get an email to them on Schoology?
No, it comes through that.
I get like
She does.
10 Schoology things a day.
But some people don't get it.
You don't want any more.
Yeah, the
I
school-
get it.
the
And I get them
Schoology
in
stuff,
two different emails.
I'm with Lee, it's like,
Yeah.
I just swipe them off, it's too much. And I got, like I said, I got lucky to grab this last newsletter, it was awesome, I'm like, why isn't, I mean, but I would go to Jake and say, Jake, can you give me your email distribution list for the city, and
You can't do that.
he can't.
Can Jake send it on behalf of you?
I don't know.
He could, I wonder if they could include that in his newsletter, like to our newsletter.
He probably could. I don't think he has a whole lot of subscribers to that either. I have 3 subscribers. Barb and I are 2 of them.
I'm the third one. I'm on that.
And that's a 4th then.
You gotta figure out a way to get this, it can't be that hard to, like, get it out to people. I mean, you got 2 school board members that didn't see it. You could start there.
Gotta go subscribe. Now he'll have 4.
All right.
But if you wanna, I mean, how about step number 1 and like we were talking earlier about getting people involved in community ed, and, because it's one thing to see the fall catalog and then, but it's another thing to have this coming into your, like, this is short, it's 4 pages. It's not too much. It's not like, and then delete, it's just you swipe through, it's easy to read, yep, moving on. And,
And it's pretty.
it looks great,
It's eye-catching.
yeah, it looks great, yeah.
A lot of confidence.
Now we just gotta figure out how to get it distributed.
We could send it through School
Yeah,
Messenger.
we'll send it through school messenger tomorrow. Craig, send it to me and
Okay.
then send it through school messenger and see if that attracts. any-
And then hopefully people will send it to somebody else and then they can sign up for this. MAIL.
I guess I gotta subscribe to the email chain.
Well, I'm no marketing expert, but I know that if you see things and then you see it again, and you see about the 3rd time you see it, it's like, oh, where'd that come from? You know, and I think that's just the way your mind works, and I know I've heard that kind of thing where if you don't see it, if you just see it like once, like the flyer, you know, and the flyer that was put out by Gretchen's a good flyer, but it goes in the Fillmore Journal once, and if if they're not home that week or they don't open it and they pitch it, they might think it's just an ad and they didn't even see it. So they don't know that there's a community event that they might like to go to, you know, on financial planning or something. So I just think you need to bombard them different with the newspaper. The Argus does free things. The Caledonia haulers, and I know Gretchen's used that on some specials, and that works. But there's just, you gotta hit them 10 different ways and 10 different times, and I think people see things in it. It's just my gut feeling, you know. That's
We'll
what
work
it is
on
for
it.
me.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do the chimp thing and I can't, it's not letting me figure it out. I don't know, I'll mess with it later and tell you what problem I have. Okay, did you have anything else, Craig, or did you say your stuff earlier?
I was gonna talk about the Blue Ribbon School, beyond excited, and want to thank Principal Bowler, the school staff, students, and parents for all their hard work and solid achievements. We're not where we want to be, but we're headed in the right direction. And I think one of the things that stood out for me over, you know, the COVID years when I was looking at this today, the whole state dropped, but we didn't. We kept improving during that time. And I was a little disappointed with our scores last spring, but you're going to have blips like that when we're the size we are. It doesn't take much to go up and down, but I'm pretty proud of the. You draw a fitted line into our test scores. It's a pretty steady upward trend, and with some of our elementary scores, we were getting to the point where it's going to be tough to make improvements, and that John alluded to that when he talked about the READACT training that other schools hopefully will make some big gains, and we won't have the margin of improvement that some of the other schools do, but that's a good place to be. But we're still going to keep getting slowly better, and that's something that I'm pretty proud of. But Nathan mentioned we're in the process of getting some banners, and to hang, and sounds like we get a flag presented to us out in Washington. I'm not going. Nathan is going to go, and some of the teachers that worked on the thing are going to go, and I'm excited for that. I mentioned about more REDAC training. We may or may not be coming to you for that. We've been doing some emergency management system scouting. We've looked at 3 different things, and that's Centegix did get back to me over the weekend,
I saw that.
and reached out. I told them when I'm available, and we'll see. And then, did you sit in on the Raptor one?
Sub-Raptor.
Okay. So yeah, that I think it's kind of there's 2 front runners right now, which would be the Blue Point and the Raptor. I'm curious to see about the Centegix. But
There's
those,
the one out of Atlanta.
yes.
Okay.
So we'll see about that, and more to come there. We've crossed the first IRS hurdle in getting direct payment back from the solar arrays in lieu of a tax rebate. Since our school district doesn't pay taxes, they have a direct pay system, which is brand new to everyone, unfortunately. I've been asking everybody that's done solar projects in the past, hey, did you have this? And they're like, no, this is brand new. You're the first one. Let us know how it goes. So I'm getting a lot of that. But the first hurdle has been crossed. We were approved for to do the next IRS form. So that'll be fun. It's a new form, which again, nobody has completed this form yet because it's brand new. So we'll get there. I mentioned in my update that I emailed out last week that we've got a few people that are interested in coming to school in Caledonia, but they live in Iowa, and you need a reciprocity. Well, the states already have a reciprocity agreement, but you also need agreements with the individual school districts. Al McKee County, or Alameda County School District did express some interest a few years ago. At that time, I believe the board, I think it was 2021, the board decided, you know, we can't really have an agreement with Alameda County and not Eastern Alameda County. And, you know, we wouldn't lose any students to Alameda County, but we very well could to East Alameda County because of their proximity. New Albany is just right across the road there, so. That's something that I'm gonna bring to the finance committee, and then we'll bring it to the full board. But if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call and we'll talk about that. I am meeting, have a phone call scheduled with Eastern Alameda superintendent, who is fairly new and doesn't know anything about this.
They're sharing with Alameda on that
Okay.
too, so. And this is his first year.
Yep.
Sarah.
Yeah, I emailed him and he asked if we could talk on the phone because he's not familiar with it at all, so.
I see Decorah, Maple, looked like Maple got most of those kids back, and I don't know if they're working out a deal where they're trying to go to the league.
Yeah, Decorah said no
Yeah.
to an agreement, but I think they, sounds like they've done some sort of, I don't know.
I think all the kids
Yeah.
came back, but they worked out some kind
Yeah,
of
I
a
don't-
special
yeah.
deal there too.
Yeah, I don't know how to speak to that, but, the other thing I wanted to talk about, September is School Board Recognition Month, and, on behalf of the community, staff, students, administration, and teachers, I want to thank you all for your service to the district. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed, and it's, sometimes a thankless job, and tonight I'm here to thank you, so. Recognition, well deserved. That's all I have.
Is New Albany, grades 1 through 4?
1 through 4, yeah.
How many,
Or no, we did one.
any idea what their
It's
student
either 4
enrollment
or
is
6.
down there?
6, 7, and 8 is middle school.
And the middle school is located in New Albany too.
No, middle
Just the
school.
elementary is a middle.
It's the elementary, 1 through 5.
I know there's a couple other families that live like within a mile of Mike's.
Mhm.
I mean, all the families live right next to Heights, and I know most of them. There's 2 other ones I know that have shown interest other than the 2 that already have.
The risk might outweigh the award, is that what you're saying?
That's what we determined last time, but. I feel terrible for those people that are right across the border there.
They're like, some of the families I know, most of them work in La Crosse or Caledonia. He said it sucks going this way and not being able to bring your kids to school because then they gotta go the opposite way all the time.
Well, you could probably figure out like where those, you could probably figure out what your risk reward probably is based on where these people live. Probably.
What I don't know is how many would go to, we would lose.
I don't, but you could, well, okay, well, that would be a little bit harder to figure out like where, how many elementary school kids we have down there. Winnebago Valley, is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't think there's many down there
Probably not too many.
anymore, not like there used to be.
There, like the central drop-off point they could have there, like community center.
Yeah, there would have to be, just like we don't go into other school districts,
Right.
we would dip down there.
I'm surprised that would the other district have to agree too? So the New Albany district, it would be astonishing if they agree, because that could be the end of it.
Yeah, would be good.
I'd be shocked if they said yes. So, what if
Well,
Eastern,
in the reciprocal agreement between states, you have to be closer to the opposite state school. So
to be eligible?
the New Albany kids wouldn't be closer to our elementary school, so they couldn't come. But
Our kids.
so our kids could go there.
Oh, Yeah, but the school with kaputs, they would have, but then they'd have to go down to Dorchester, or not Dorchester, Waukon.
That school hasn't been open for many, many years.
What?
Dorchester's.
Yeah, not Dorchester.
There used to be a school there.
And they're- Alright. So that, October is when we gotta figure this out, or?
Oh, I don't think anybody's asking for this year,
Oh, okay.
but I think, thankfully they're asking ahead of time, because I think in 2021, they were like 2 weeks before school, hey, we wanna come to school there. And we didn't have any of this figured out, so.
Okay.
We've got until next summer, but let's just soon get it figured out sooner so that people can make plans with whatever decision.
Craig, any updates on the jail situation with juveniles?
Yeah, I went down there and visited, Nathan went down there and visited last week. There was only one student there when I was there, and very well behaved. I don't think a lot of work was getting done, but, yeah, there have been 2 to 4 students, every day. It's hard to get educational records in the amount of time that they're here, but she does the best they can, and quite honestly, those students probably need more, guidance than academic lessons and things of that nature, so it's plugging along. We haven't had to bill anybody yet, because that comes later, is that correct, Barb?
Yeah, until we know how many students
Yeah.
we up for the total amount of comps that will happen at year end, which is how we've always done.
Yeah, we always get those, where we've gotten those bills at the end of the year, and you're like, oh my goodness. So now we'll be the ones sending those bills in the spring.
Who do you build? State?
Each school
The
district.
school district, the residents where the student resides.
What if we only have one student, but we have a full-time teacher, then we just eat the difference? Is that how it's?
We've had about 14, 15 students so far
Oh, but there was only one in.
At a
Oh, I see.
time.
at a time, yeah.
When I
They're
was
only-
there,
yeah.
when I was there last Tuesday, there was 2.
And there's been up to, I think the most they've had is 5 at a time.
So you don't foresee any reason why we would be losing money in this situation?
We won't lose money on it.
It's just safe?
Oh, yeah.
Kids. Okay. Is there a staff member or guard?
2 of them
Okay.
right outside the door, and then obviously they have a clear line of sight, I would say there, from me to Karen away, and there's 2 of them. So,
Thanks, Greg.
You bet.
Barb?
I didn't have numbers for you yet today, I don't know if you see my email, because they still don't have our levy run done yet, because we haven't figured out the programming issue with the maximum effort loan aid. And as soon as I get those numbers, I will send those out to you, but tonight you just, certified or approved the maximum. And that's basically, especially I'll need you to come in to sign those papers
Okay.
at the end of this week. But by the 30th, I'll have to have it figured out, so I'll get those out to you. I'm not foreseeing any big increases or anything. Craig and I went over some of the projected enrollments. And as we've talked about before, we're looking at some declining enrollment. So those are things that we need to keep in mind as far as budgeting and going forward and what we are looking at 5-10 years from now. Part of what goes into the levy was a career tech ed, and so I submitted the actual information to NGE for that. There's closing out of all the ESSER funds, so we are totally done with any ESSER spending. We actually had till the end of September to do it, but we finished it out the end of June. Just spinning off from the READ Act that's been talked about, we've always gotten literacy incentive aid, but it never had to be reserved, and now it will be, so that's how they read at 3rd grade, and then the growth from 3rd to 4th grade. Now it has to be reserved in a fund balance, but there's also 2 more pots of money that are one-time money, so that have to be reserved, and one of them is paying for that stipend, and the other one is for curriculum. So they're still giving us information that's supposed to be coming out soon about how all the coding and what are the proper channels to go through for the expenditures that can go into those account codes. Let's see, we met with the ag teachers to go over some of the summer ag programming and the stipends that they received. Met with Carl Sanderson on that assessment worksheet, and I believe Matt and Craig went through that. That'll all be information that when we go out for an operating referendum, information to provide to the public on things that need to be done in the district. Again, they touched on the health insurance meeting. We'll have to approve for the next annual, it's coming up in January, the crisis meeting. I guess if there's any questions for me, we always postpone the September meeting, hoping to get the levy information out. And every year, they never still have it out by the last meeting. So I don't know what we'll want to do in January. Maybe we just keep it as the regular third Monday and then just say maximum and I get the numbers out, because every year it seems like.
Has there been a year that you didn't do the maximum?
No, we've always done them. Well, wait, back many, many years ago, they would reduce it. But that was back when it was health and safety, not the LTFM, long-term facility maintenance. But otherwise, no.
Yes, so
They would just do the maximum and.
so in other words, it's pointless to have a meeting later in September from this point.
It has been for the last.
It has been the last few years. What was nice is we actually had numbers, and that was what would go out in the proposal, so it would get published and people would know. But it's not working out, so
Yeah.
our best efforts are not working out, so.
Alright.
And that could be a decision you make in January when you have your organization meeting.
All right, thanks, Mark. All right, so what do we got left here? We got the old business, strategic plan update, no new business, board reports, and then adjournment. So we're on the home stretch here. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time with this strategic plan thing, but we promised the rest of the board a little update on what we've been doing. So committees, lead Derek and I, and then John, Craig, and Nate. And so basically the way we broke down goal one was what actions have we already taken and what actions we are planning to take. As most of you are probably aware, John established a baseline number of disciplinary occurrences, presented that DEERS data to the oversight committee. We kind of went through it. I guess that was just to establish a baseline so we can see where things go from there. Also met with coaches to establish open lines of communication, make sure everybody's on, the same page as far as what is expected in that department. And the requiring staff in the hallways, Nate's requiring staff in the hallways in the high school. So hopefully that'll eliminate some of the other issues that we were dealing with. Future actions, number 4 there was the finalize the cell phone policy. Well, that's kind of been done. So we can scratch that one off the list and move it into the actions taken column. And then the, you can see what the future plan of attack is for this goal 1. So anyway, I think that one, from my perspective, seems pretty well fleshed out and on its way to achieving the goal. Hopefully the data reflects that. Sure it will. So anyway, little update. Goal 2 is to improve the staff morale and retention by addressing some of their top concerns. So Craig established an annual employee survey that we all got to look at. That was great. And one of the big takeaways from that was that they wanted, teachers wanted to be recognized and for all the hard work they're doing. And both Nate and John have established a little employee recognition program in their own way. And so I think that'll help with that. You guys have anything to add to that, or is that pretty much covers that? If at any point you want to jump in or add or subtract or whatever. And then the newsletter piece, I don't have it pulled up anymore, the battery's gonna die, but the newsletter has kind of an employee recognition or spotlight, which is kind of part of this as well. So if we can get that widely distributed and have the whole community recognizing these people, it would be good. Anyway, and then we'll just continue to make adjustments based on that annual employee survey. Goal 3, this is the one that needs a lot of work, and we kind of decided to start from scratch on this one. This was Sue's, and then it got taken over by John and Nate. And at our next, I think our next meeting, this is going to be kind of the main focus on getting this fleshed out. To have a outreach project and breakdown by grade level.
And we did do some last year.
We had some of them. So some of this, Sue, I still have the stuff that she had, so it's not like we're dumping it, but we're just gonna start with a fresh slate, come back in, plug in all the stuff that Sue had established, and then figure out what we're gonna do with the others. Does that sound about right? So anyway, I don't have any news on that one for now, but that's gonna be kind of the main focus going forward. Goal 4, I feel like we basically already accomplished this one. You know, there's no schools or mental health facilities, but we can at least provide the services, and based on the actions that we've taken, I feel like we're doing a pretty darn good job, from my perspective at least.
One thing that we're doing, I reached out to all the Houston County superintendents and asked if they wanted to meet with the groups that we had in 3 or 4 times last year, and just what else can we do? And I know one of the things we talked about last spring was getting a speaker or something to come in to talk to parents about drugs and addiction and things like that. But I think we would get a bigger audience if we had all 4 county schools come to that. So that's another thing that I'm working on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Who run the career school, the career day up there the other day? Boy, there's lots of different schools that come to that.
Bluff Country Collaborative.
That's the BCC, the Bluff Country Collaborative.
Okay.
Yeah, we had right around 32 businesses that came. We had Spring Grove, Rushford, Peterson, Houston, La Crescent, ourselves. We had just over 700 kids that attended.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, it's great. One of the things I talked to a few of the vendors even before it all started. They talked about one of the things that they're finding is some of the people that they're currently hiring now attended this a couple years ago, and they said, so we found there was maybe a little delayed reaction, like, is this worth our time? And what they said was, yes, it is, because people are coming back and saying, I remember this from the career fair, or I remember this, and it's about trying to get as much hands-on. We invited, new people. We're always looking to expand, but we had, for instance, Caledonia Police Department was there this year. The ambulance was up there, and even talking about here are some grants and here are some ways that you can get certified and become part of an ambulance crew and get it paid for. So those are a couple of new ones that we had just locally, but anyone from, the Minnesota Department of Transportation to the 49ers to, we had Ken Smolledgen, which was new this year, some dentistry offices, a couple of colleges, but it's mainly more of that career side of things. So if you know of anybody that is interested, they can reach out to myself or they can reach out to Mary Ann Smith, and we're always looking to expand. But yeah, it's a pretty darn good fair, and it's right in our backyard, so we don't have to travel, and well posted it. So
Cool.
it's good.
So, anyway, so that's where we're at with goal 4, and if any of you have any ideas or for additional actions on any of these goals, just please send it to a member of the committee and we'll see if we can't get her on there. Goal 5, seems like we're doing pretty good in this department as well. I didn't break this down by actions taken versus actions to be taken. This is kind of just what's currently being offered by grade level as far as specific exposure to life skills. I'm sure there's always things we can add, but you know, it's another example of a goal that seems pretty well fleshed out already. So that would put us about 2.5, 3 years ahead of schedule. Not that we can't improve on stuff, but I think we're, in my opinion at least, we're on track.
And you know, this list is kind of was based off of last year. And so like our seniors, last Tuesday went to a career fair in La Crosse as well. That's one that we had not normally attended. And I talked to a few kids, and I think one of the things that it's interesting as you kind of break down what students are saying. One of the things that say, we know what's out there. We already know that. We can Google it. But we want to know what it is. We want to see it in action. That's kind of the disconnect. And so, and then also the comment that I got a couple of times from a couple of students was, I always knew about this company, but I never associated this job with this company. And a really basic example would be the Caledonia haulers. Well, I don't want to be a truck driver. Well, there's a zillion other jobs that go into Caledonia haulers, you know, from HR to payroll to being routes and whatever else. And that's what's getting, you know, they have to break past what they initially see and look at all the other opportunities. And that was one of the things that I had heard from a couple of the companies of like, I always knew about this company, but I never thought I could do cybersecurity for them, or I could do X, Y, and Z for them, and that was really cool. So we're always trying to expand, but we're also trying to make sure it's worth our while too. We don't want to take them to take them. We want it to be valuable. So.
All right. Well, any discussion on that? Anything to add? Or on that goal 3 there, that, you know, that's gonna be our focus. I'm gonna, hopefully we can bring Sue back in. She agreed to be a, kind of help out in this strategic planning, and hopefully for that specific goal, she can attend the next meeting and help us get that one all on the right track. But I'll send out an email maybe tonight after this or tomorrow to try to set up our next strategic planning meeting. Would that be okay? All right. Okay. All right. Where are we at? No new business. Board member reports. Melissa. Tim.
Yeah. One, the student survey that's coming out in October, is that, now the opt-in or opt-out?
That's
Is
what
that
will
gonna
go out
be-
in October, is
Okay.
a message to parents that this is coming up in January,
Okay.
and that will be their opportunity to.
Oh, so in October, you notify them over January? Okay.
Yep.
Well, you can take it anywhere between January and May. So generally we usually take it, it's been more like the March, April timeframe, but you can start administering it as early as January. But you cannot do what's called an opt-in, which means, hey, if you want to take this, let us know.
Okay.
You have to do an opt-out.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to take it, here's the form that we need, and then you don't take it.
Okay, but it's clear to them that they can opt out. I mean, it's made, okay.
Yeah. So that's what the letter is, to give them time to say, no, I don't want you to take, or I don't want my students to take it.
And how did, who does all the interviewing for the students?
It's online.
Oh, it's all online?
Yeah, it's a self-reporting survey online by the students. Yeah, no, it's not an actual sit down. And then obviously the state of Minnesota compiles their data, and then we get a copy based on our students separate.
That's new though.
So,
You used to just get the state data. It's fairly new that you get, well, within the last few years.
maybe I'm new to it. with it, so it's
Yeah.
always been here since I've been here, but yeah. Cause I have last year's in my office.
Yeah, I saw
3 years
the
ago.
breakdown, you sent it.
Yep.
Nonetheless, being involved with this risk school crisis responsers, Craig asked me if I could reach out to some of my old department people in Illinois. And the one thing it did was I reached out to 3 different people I worked with, and they're all chiefs now. And I realized how lucky we are to be in small town America. These guys it's a zoo. They've all been in the business. They're chiefs. They've been around for about 30 years. They're all looking at retiring soon. And I was asking them about what system do they use in the high schools. And they're all 3 of them. There was Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Addison. They all used the Blue Point. And they're sold on it. But they're what they're dealing with is a lot different than us. But it still can happen anywhere. You know, the one town's got 2 high schools, the other town's got 3 high schools, and the other one's got just 1 high school. But they're busy. And in fact, in their schools, that one in Downers Grove, the 2 high schools, and you've been there, you've seen the high schools. They're about 4,000 students each, and each high school has not only do the police patrol, but they've got retired police officer that coordinates their security force. And then they've got 3 or 4 security people that work for him, not even working for the police. They work for the security firm. So they're busy with that. But on top of it, through all those different layers, the system that we're looking at is the one they use, and they're all sold on it, that it's the best thing that they've seen. So, one of the things, though, in talking to one of the Chief Buds, he was telling me that he's been involved in the school safety issue for the last 15 years. And he said, number one, and his point was if your exterior windows to the entrances all have that 3M tape on it, that 3M tape that won't allow, in some cases, many bullets to penetrate. A hammer won't break it, a rock won't break it. But if all of your entrances are hardened with that alone, that's a good start. And it wouldn't be your windows, but all of your foyer areas, all of your windows to the schools, anything that's a exterior window that's not going into a classroom. He said, if you've got 3M tape on that, it's not cheap. That's your number one best way to harden the target. And then he said the next thing is to make sure that during the school day, that all of your classroom doors, if they lock, they're all shut. And he said, through all the different things, through all the different studies, if you can slow down the penetration of the building, number one, and then if they do get in the building, if they can't get into your classroom, they're going to go to the soft target. So, and that's something just to reinforce with your teachers. And if we have to, with some money through grants, if we have to harden some of those doorways, that would be something they say is probably the simplest, cheapest way to secure your building. And again, it all came down to hardening the target. And the one guy talking, and I'm glad you asked me to give these guys a call because I hadn't talked to them in years. And the one guy I found out he was the police chief of the year in Illinois. So it's good to hear that his career is going well.
Did we measure for that
We did.
film years ago?
Yep.
Because really, I'm speaking for the middle school, high school, we really only have 2 doors that you can get through based on the glass. The door in the back that heads out to the practice fields and the front doors. Everything else just has, well, I shouldn't say, door B and door T do as well. But otherwise, they just have the small windows that nobody can get through regardless. So we have 4.
But if they broke the window, could they reach in and open the door?
Not with that tape, though.
Well,
They could.
But right now.
Now, right now, I would say if there's no wire in them, then yes. I'm trying to remember if there's wire in those doors.
It's something to check because he said it's not cheap. It needs somebody to do it, but it's from he says, yeah, it's 3M right out of Minnesota. So he said it's the best way to make sure the foyers everything was secured. Because there are videos they show of guys, you shoot through with certain rounds, it makes a little tiny hole, but it's not gonna destroy your window, and then they get in. Because if they don't get buzzed in, they're gonna get panicky, and they're gonna fire a round through, and it won't break the window out, in most cases.
So the blue, the panic button.
Blue point?
Blue point.
Well, the panic button is, but that's something that needs to come with. And that's the third thing. He said if you've got a panic button with your, even if it's an emergency button at the front desk, like a silent alarm, that's good because then you can talk the guy down while you push a button, and then everybody knows there's a problem. It's a police problem. And he said that was the number 3 best way they do it at their Downers Grove South, is that program. And they've used it with intruders that are just getting out of control. And they've got, within 30 seconds, they'll have security there. So,
Yeah, so I guess the point is the three recommendations would be the panic button type, or not necessarily the chronological or order of importance, but the film on the windows, the panic button, and just ensuring that the doors are locked.
Right.
And we talked, that this was a crisis meeting last year or something about having additional door jam, like you could pop it in there, and even if they were to access the doorknob, they still couldn't open the door. So if you'd have, your procedure would be hit the panic button multiple times, and then secure your door. I mean, that alone would put, if something happened, we'd wonder why we didn't take some really basic steps, Most seem pretty basic.
Is that film expensive?
it's expensive, but I think we've got monies left over, and it's not like setting up an alarm system, but it's worthy.
So the cops grant monies we
Yeah.
have left over, so that would help with the.
Right. Oh, yeah.
and the-
I can't remember if that's in the grant or not. We had the budget for everything. I'll have to take a look at that. and see if it's-
And then the cameras that are hooked up.
Yep, they're hooked
That's
up.
all good now. So you're seeing some things in high school?
Yeah, well, the high school itself was pretty good. It was the parking lot.
Right.
So yeah, we have 360 view out in the middle of the parking lot. It never failed. It was who ran into my car, somebody went into my car, who keeps folding in my mirrors, maybe I should say that out loud. How did that raccoon end up in my car? Things like that. So, things like that.
Who's kidnapped into a light pole?
So Craig, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, same thing, they're both for 360-degree views. One on the playground out here, one in the parking lot.
Okay, so those 3, and the radio transmitter things that are getting
Yep.
installed. So, so the other things that were just mentioned, are we gonna make sure they get addressed?
I can get pricing on the windows.
Because Matt
Yeah.
can install that stuff, you think? If you just price it out, you think Matt can install that? That wouldn't be that hard, would it? Yeah.
Seems like we got pricing on it when we were trying to get a grant, for the grant.
It's right on.
I'm trying to remember, I remember somebody coming in
And then we didn't get the grant.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what.
So much square footage of each
Yeah.
door and window and all that, I'm sure.
Well, let's
We
make
can
sure.
follow up on that. though.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just keep pushing on it and get her done. Okay. You good, Tim?
Thank you, that's all.
Oh, the one other thing about that survey, I thought that was kind of interesting data, when Greg sent it, but what's done about it? It's interesting and, okay, moving on with life. Does the state do anything with this data? You don't, that I'm aware, right?
Well, I think that's where they use it to look at it to see where they should put their money, I think. Is one of the things they do with it.
Are those surveys de-identified?
Yes.
Yeah, so it just seems really, I just can't fathom, from a school district's perspective, what we would do with that. I can see maybe the state is gonna delegate money where, but from our perspective, like, okay,
I'd say the only way is if you found something that was like super
Yeah,
alarming.
what jumps out at you and maybe address it.
In
In that one, our district actually looked a little better than the state, so.
some areas.
In
In
some
some areas, we were higher than the state, which was a negative. So it just kind of, does that make sense? It wasn't the one about dating violence, where our percentages were compared to the state average. So, you wanna see, like I said, I have the whole survey in my office, if you wanna see. So,
yeah, okay.
All right, thanks.
Where were we? Dan?
Just a personal thing, met with some friends, we hadn't seen about 8 years in Chicago, and talking about life in Caledonia. And interestingly, on their way back last night to Toronto, at the border, they sent us a picture of a Caledonia hauler's truck. So maybe we should put Blue Ribbon School. Maybe a QR code in the newsletter.
So,
You might.
Alright, thanks, Dan. Lee? Okay, Spencer?
The only thing I got, I may have brought it up last meeting, 2 meetings ago, but I believe Chatfield's going to 4-day week and taking Monday off, aren't they, Craig, or which one of those HVAC schools? I know Dover Yoda's talking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
don't think they've decided yet.
There's no
Because they were-
decisions yet.
The last I heard is that they were maybe Fridays off,
Oh, Fridays.
but
You guys have heard more than me.
that's all I know. It was still a hot discussion.
I don't know, at HVAC they talked about it, one of them gonna go for sure, but not like you say now. It's probably been finalized or anything, but I'll find out Wednesday night, I'm up there, when it comes up again, questions. That's all I have. I got nothing.
And I don't have anything either. Alright, well, everybody good? Alright, in that case, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Spencer seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. It is 7:34.
Okay.
I mean, we did have one, it's the triggers.
It's already-